Hi, my name is Elaine McRae and I will be doing your orientation with you today. You should have in front of you a list of topics that we will be going over during your orientation. You will want to make sure that you are initialing down each topic as we go through them, and then once we go through all of your topics, you will sign and date it at the bottom, and then your director will also sign and date it at the bottom as well once we've gone through everything. If at that time you have any questions or concerns or anything that you are unclear about, you can definitely make sure that you ask your director and they can clarify anything for you or go over anything for you at that specific time. So let's get started, and we look forward to working with you. Welcome to Treehouse Academy. We are pleased to have you with us and hope that you find your new job rewarding and challenging. Treehouse Academy is a growing company, and we feel that all of us have the opportunity to benefit. We want to maintain the benefits of our current environment as we expand and grow our company over the coming years. To reach our goal, we must provide superior service to our customers, and this means employing the best people. As a member of the Treehouse Academy team, you are critical to our success. Through your success, we can reach our goals. Treehouse Academy strives to create an exciting, challenging, and rewarding work environment that allows you to flourish. We want you to build a long and successful association with Treehouse and be a happy and productive member of our team. Through your dedication, creativity, perseverance, and efforts, our company will continue to grow. Treehouse Academy strives to fulfill your commitment to making a difference in the life of a child. Once again, welcome to Treehouse and our best wishes for your success. We appreciate your confidence in our future. Let's grow together. Expectations. As a Treehouse Academy employee, you are expected to be a professional at all times. Professionalism is defined as your attention to detail, respectful manner, and positive attitude. Your attention to detail is based in all aspects of your job, from how you dress, write, spell a child's name, clean, interact with children, etc. It is your responsibility to pay close attention to such things as the allergy list, incident reports, children's behaviors, and markings on the wall. Being detail-oriented requires you to know your children, be one step ahead, and follow through. A positive attitude will carry you far. You only get one chance to make a first impression, so think about how you want others to see you. Always smile and introduce yourself to anyone who enters your classroom, and always smile and interact with all parents. This is extremely important because your parents are the people that you interact with throughout the day, and they are leaving their children with you and are trusting you with their children throughout the entire day. So it is very, very important that they know who they are leaving their children with. So especially being a new teacher in the classroom, you want to make sure that you are introducing yourself to every parent that is coming through your classroom doors, so that they know and they are getting to know the person that their children are spending their day with each and every day. Treehouse Academy employees are a team and should act accordingly. The only way we can function is if we do it as a team. Always try to help out your fellow team members. Remember that it is always easier to say yes than to say no, and that by helping someone else out, you in turn will also be helped out. Gossiping will not be permitted at Treehouse Academy. If you are gossiping, then you are not doing your job as a teacher and supervising the children in your classroom. If you are having a problem with a fellow team member, parent, or child, you must talk to management about the issue. It is not your duty to go and talk to any other teachers or any other parents about the issue. You need to go to talk to management, because management is going to be the one to fix the issue for you, not anybody else. Let's take a few moments to talk about what it means to be a professional and ask yourself, are you a professional? A professional learns every aspect of the job. An amateur skips the learning process whenever possible. A professional carefully discovers what is needed and wanted. An amateur assumes what others need and want. A professional looks, speaks, and dresses like a professional. An amateur is sloppy in appearance and speech. A professional keeps his or her work area clean and orderly. An amateur has a messy, confused, or dirty work area. A professional is focused and clear-headed. An amateur is confused and distracted. A professional does not let mistakes slide by. An amateur ignores or hides mistakes. A professional jumps into difficult assignments. An amateur tries to get out of difficult work. A professional completes projects as soon as possible. An amateur is surrounded by unfinished work piled on top of unfinished work. A professional remains level-headed and optimistic. An amateur gets upset and assumes the worst. A professional faces up to people's upsets and problems. An amateur avoids others' problems. A professional uses higher emotional tones such as enthusiasm, cheerfulness, interest, and contentment. An amateur uses lower emotional tones such as anger, hostility, resentment, fear, and acts as the victim. A professional persists until the objective is achieved. An amateur gives up at the first opportunity. A professional produces more than expected. An amateur produces just enough to get by. A professional produces a high-quality product or service. An amateur produces a medium to low-quality product or service. A professional has a promising future. An amateur has an uncertain future. The first step to making yourself a professional is to decide you are a professional. Are you a professional? The next thing we are going to go over are operational policies. Let's start with our uniform policy. Treehouse Academy employees should look professional on a daily basis. A Treehouse Academy shirt is required Monday through Thursday, accompanied by khaki pants or shorts, of course, depending on the weather. You obviously don't want to be wearing shorts when it's the middle of winter, and vice versa. When it's 100 degrees outside, you want to be wearing comfortable shorts. Your uniform needs to be wrinkle-free and clean. Hair needs to be nicely kept, and nails need to be an appropriate length. Free dress is allowed on Fridays within reason. This means no revealing clothing and nothing that will conflict with your role as a teacher. Perfume will be allowed in moderation, but remember that children are sensitive to smells and oils in perfume, so you want to make sure that the perfume that you're wearing isn't very strong or, doesn't leave that strong of an odor while you're wearing it. Treehouse employees represent Treehouse and need to be dressed appropriately at all times. If at any time Treehouse management feels you are inappropriately dressed, they can and will ask you to change. Telephone and cell phone use. You are allowed to use the Treehouse phone lines in moderation. No long-distance calls can be made, and your outside conversation needs to be brief. If all the lines are tied up with personal calls, then the company cannot run the business it needs to. If this is abused, phone privileges will be taken away. Cell phone use is strictly prohibited. Your cell phone needs to be put away in your personal vehicle or in your classroom and the volume turned completely off, not on vibrate. Some centers require that their staff members to keep their cell phones in a secure area in the main office at the beginning of the staff member's shift. The staff member is then allowed to pick their cell phone up while on lunch break or when they leave for the day. Get clarification on this policy with your center director before you begin working. If you are caught with your cell phone out, it will be grounds for immediate termination. Always ask yourself, is that Instagram message or that text message worth losing your job over? Because a director can instantly let you go if they see you with that cell phone out. So it is grounds for instant termination. So always ask yourself that question. It's not worth losing your job over, so just keep your phone put away. Daily sheets. The daily sheets are a very important resource for communication between the teacher and the parents. Daily sheets are to be filled out completely on a daily basis. Handwriting needs to be legible, and the child's first and last name need to be on it. The sheet needs to be filled out specifically for each child and sent home each day. Please remember to put specific notes for each child, as the parents love to see this. Ratios. You must follow state-mandated ratios regarding the age group you are responsible for at all times. This is extremely important. You must know how many children you have at all times. Know your combined ratio count for children to teacher. You must do a name-to-face recognition when checking roll. You must always know your oldest and youngest child enrolled. Licensing will ask this whenever they come in into your classroom to do an annual check or even just a check in general. Know if and what children have left your classroom for extracurricular activities such as dance class, gymnastics, computer class, etc. If you are out of ratio, you must notify the front office immediately. Please understand that it may take us a few minutes to get somebody into the classroom to balance out your ratios, but just let us know immediately and understand that we are working on it. It just takes us a few minutes to get that sorted out. Under no circumstances should you ever tell a parent that you are out of ratio. It is not the parent's concern to try to get that figured out for you or to notify the front that you are out of ratio. It's your job to let the front know that you are out of ratio, not the parent. Performance reviews. You will be subject to a performance review at any time during your employment with Treehouse Academy. You will also have an annual review on the anniversary of your hire date, during which time we will discuss your performance as a teacher, your interaction with the children, the staff, and the parents. On a daily basis, the management team will look at your initiative, interaction, professionalism, daily setup, attention to detail, knowledge of your room, children, and curriculum. If you need to help in any of these matters, we will discuss it with you at this time. Please feel free to ask questions or to seek advice on anything that you may be struggling with. That's what we're here for. If you have any questions on how to handle a parent or a child or anything like that, definitely ask management or ask your fellow teachers, because again, that's what we are here for. We're here for guidance or, help in any sort of way like that. Training. You are required to have 30 clock hours of training each year as a Treehouse employee. If you fail to complete the training within your year, you will not be permitted to attend work until all hours have been completed. So usually your director is really good about keeping up with the amount of training that you have within your year, especially if it's coming close to your anniversary date. So don't hesitate to go in and ask them, how many training hours you have or how many you need in order to complete that for your year, because those are imperative to keep up to date with. So just make sure that you are asking about those and keeping up with that. And then they can also give you suggestions on where to get extra training if you are needing extra training. Staff meetings. There will be mandatory meetings each month that you will be paid for to discuss Treehouse business. Please feel free to ask questions or suggest topics to discuss. If you will be unable to make a meeting, you need to inform the director ahead of time and designate somebody to get the information we discuss for you. If too many meetings have been missed by an employee, they can be counseled for it, as it is a duty and responsibility of a Treehouse Academy employee to attend mandatory meetings. Time off requests. A 2-week notice is required when asking for time off. If you ask off in an amount of time less than this, please be aware that you may not get the time. No more than 2 people are allowed to be off on one day. There is a calendar to check before asking for time off. When asking for time off, please fill out the time off request and return it to the completed request folder. If you are not able to have the time off, we will return the request back to you. If you are granted the time off, then your name will be added to the calendar. Make sure that you are clarifying with your director where your staff calendar is, so that you can check before you put that request off that there is available time for that specific day that you are needing. If that time is already filled up by other employees within the building, then you may need to be looking at another day to try to take off for that specific appointment or vacation day or whatever it is that you are needing for that day off. So just make sure that you are clarifying with them what you are needing. Absences. We are all aware that there will be times when you are ill or have an emergency come up. If you need to call out, you must call 4 hours before your shift. This allows us time to find a replacement for your class. Excessive absenteeism is considered 1 or more absences per month, and you, as an employee, can be counseled for this. After 3 counsels, you can be terminated for excessive absenteeism. When calling out, please remember the effect it has on the children and your team members. The children you care for rely on you to be in class every single day. They aren't a stack of papers that we can just shuffle around and put into a corner whenever you are not here. So just make sure that you're carefully evaluating how sick you actually are. If it's the sniffles or if it's allergies or a cold, take some medicine and come on in. If you're running 102 fever and you can't keep anything down, then that, of course, is definitely more severe. But, just make sure that you're always evaluating that because, these children, they look forward to seeing you every single day and they rely on you to be there every single day. So just make sure that you are carefully looking at your illnesses and the effect that it has on them and the people that you work with. Tardies. You need to arrive for your shift with enough time to get what you need to be prepared for your day. If you are not prepared when you enter your class, then you did not follow through with your duties as a teacher. If you arrive more than 4 minutes late to work, you will be considered tardy. Excessive tardiness is considered more than 2 times in a 2-week period, to which you can be counseled for and after 3 counsels terminated. When taking a break, remember to leave on time. Your break officially begins when the person relieving you enters the classroom. It is very important that you leave and arrive on time from your break, as other people's breaks count on you. The same tardy policy will apply to breaks as well. Remember, if you leave 5 minutes late, then that means you're coming back 5 to 10 minutes late, and then the person behind you is then also leaving 5 to 10 minutes late. It's a domino effect that, determines the rest of the afternoon schedule. So just make sure that you're paying very, very close attention to the time that you're supposed to be leaving and the time that you're supposed to be coming back, because it's just very, very important that schedule runs the way that it needs to. Confidentiality. The confidentiality of Treehouse children, parents, staff, and business is strictly enforced. You are not to talk to any parent about any child other than their own or about another parent or staff member. An example of this would be a parent wanting to know the name of a child who bit or hurt their child. The name of the offending child should never, ever, ever be uttered out of our mouths. Or any other staff member for that matter. Remember that, we can't control, what a child tells their parent, but we can control what comes out of our mouths. So just make sure that we are always keeping the confidentiality of the children that we care for, completely silent, and it is of the utmost importance. Remember that we are not doctors and we do not diagnose children. Do not tell a parent that their child has an illness. Rather, tell them the symptoms and advise them to seek professional advice. Do not tell parents that a bug is going around the room when one has not been confirmed, as this causes havoc where it does not belong. If a child has a confirmed communicable disease, we will post a note to the parents informing them of the confirmed illness and symptoms. Minimum standards. Treehouse Academy operates under the Department of Family and Protective Services, or governing body for your state, and adheres to all rules delegated to us by the minimum standards. A copy of the minimum standards is in the office for you to view at your leisure to ensure you are following all mandated rules and regulations. Positive guidance and discipline. Positive discipline strategies begin with adult behaviors, good limit setting, and clearly communicating limits. They include teaching more appropriate behavior, giving cues for new behavior, giving choices, and supporting children in their new behavior. Positive guidance and discipline also include changing something about a situation and ignoring behavior when it is appropriate to do so. Positive guidance and discipline continue when adults manage typical discipline encounters with positive, helpful strategies, such as redirection, active listening, iMessages, conflict resolution, and recognizing and dealing with strong emotions. Finally, helpful adults learn to recognize signs of stress, anxiety, and strong emotion. They try to prevent overstimulation, and they teach calming techniques. Helping children save face and preserve their dignity in discipline encounters is the most important and essential element in child guidance. Positive guidance and discipline strategies. Positive reinforcement. Remind the children of the good things that they are doing instead of focusing on the negative. If you're constantly focusing on the negative things that a child is doing, all they're going to do is behave negatively. You want to point out the positive things that they are doing and concentrate on those things. Redirection. Lead the child away from the negative action or behavior and give them something else to focus on. It's okay to, distract a child from, something that you don't want them to do so that it takes their attention away from that thing. You want them to focus their attention elsewhere. Conflict resolution. Give consequences for negative behavior and follow through. Make sure that you are giving viable consequences, tangible consequences. You can't tell a child that, they're not going to get to have their, Christmas party if you can't take that Christmas party away. You've got to give them consequences that you're going to be able to follow through with. So make sure that they are, consequences that they're going to be able to fulfill. Choices. Give a child choices so they feel empowered, but limit the choices to the behavior you want them to follow. If you've got a child who is playing in the block center but keeps throwing the blocks, then you want to give them a choice of, okay, you can go and play with cars or you can go and play in home center. What is your option? Because you're removing them from the situation where they're throwing the blocks, but you're giving them the option to choose where they can go. Ignoring. If a child is not physically endangering themselves or others, then ignoring some situations is more beneficial than giving attention to the negative behavior. Prime example of this is temper tantrums, especially with your, young 2-year-olds, older toddlers, and your younger 3-year-olds. You're going to see temper tantrums quite often. If they are not hurting themselves or hurting others, then sometimes it's just beneficial to let them have that temper tantrum. Focus your attention on those kiddos that are doing and behaving the way that you want them to. Sometimes those kiddos that are throwing a tantrum just need a moment to you work out their feelings and to work through what it is that they're going through. So just ignoring that temper tantrum for a moment is perfectly okay. Now, if they are hurting themselves and they are, throwing chairs or hurting other students, then at that point, then you do need to call in a member of management to come in and help you and remove them from the situation. But, if they're not causing any harm to anybody, then they're perfectly fine. Discipline is an ongoing process that needs to be individualized and consistent for each child and appropriate to the child's level of understanding. Discipline needs to be directed toward teaching the child acceptable behavior and self-control. A caregiver may only use positive methods of discipline and guidance that encourage self-esteem, self-control, self-direction, which include at least the following: using praise and encouragement of good behavior instead of focusing only on the unacceptable behavior, setting limits and expectations with clear, positive statements, redirecting behavior using positive statements, using brief, supervised separation or timeout from the group when appropriate for the child's age and development, which is limited to no more than 1 minute per the year of the child's age. Timeout should always be used as a last resort in your classroom. You should always try other avenues first before you use timeout. You don't want that to be your go-to. You always want to try these other things first. There must be no harsh, cruel, or unusual treatment of any child. The following types of discipline and guidance are prohibited: corporal punishment or threats of corporal punishment, such as making them do things outside of the means of their physical abilities, such as push-ups. You can't make a 2-year-old do, 15 push-ups or push-ups for any matter. Punishment associated with food, naps, or toilet training. You can't, under any circumstances, keep a child from eating, going to the bathroom, or sleeping. You should not ever pinch, shake, or bite a child. Hitting a child with a hand or an instrument. Putting anything in or on a child's mouth. Humiliating, ridiculing, rejecting, or yelling at a child. Subjecting a child to harsh, abusive, or profane language. placing a child in a locked or dark room, bathroom, or closet with the door closed, requiring a child to remain silent or inactive for inappropriately long periods of time for the child's age. An example of this I've seen in some classrooms is having the children put their heads on the table. This is okay if you are trying to get a classroom calm. Let's say, they're a little bit rowdy and you just want them to put their heads on the table just to kind of get them to calm down for a moment. You would use the same rules that you would use for timeout. You wouldn't be able to do it for longer than a minute past the child's age. So, if they're 3 years old, you would only be able to have them do it for 4 minutes. It's perfect for, trying to get the classroom calm, but after that, you need to move on to the next activity. But you can't make them have their heads on their table with their hands in their lap for 10 or 15 minutes. That's cruel and unusual, and you can't do it. Fostering children's self-esteem. Your job at Treehouse Academy as a Treehouse Academy employee is to build each child's self-esteem while helping them develop socially, emotionally, and educationally. You will not belittle, ridicule, name call, or put down a child's self or family. Look for the good in every child. Remember that when you expect a child to misbehave, they will misbehave. Expect all children to be good and recognize them for their accomplishments throughout the entire day. Listen attentively and recognize what children are saying. Pay attention to their behavior and get to know what each child's triggers are. Talk with the children about their emotions and allow them to talk to you about how they are feeling. Take time to get to know each child individually. Getting to know each child individually is imperative when it comes to how smoothly your classroom is going to run. It builds trust, it builds character, and it also helps with your classroom stability. If your children trust you, they are going to work that much harder to make sure that they are doing what you ask and doing what you want. So make sure that you are taking that time to get to know them on a one-on-one basis, because that is truly the most important thing, because that's what being a teacher is. So just make sure that you are really, really taking that time. At this time, I want you to take the time to go over the developmental stages of the children that you're going to be caring for. You are responsible for knowing how children develop according to their age group, so that you are able to pick up on cues when they are not meeting, or let's say they are going beyond the normal developmental milestones that they are supposed to be meeting. So in your packet, you should have a list of the developmental stages of children that you care for throughout your school. So take this time to go through these stages, and then once you're done, go ahead and meet with your director to go over any questions that you may have, and we will move on to health and safety after you are done with that. And if you have any questions, just feel free to let us know. Thank you, and we'll see you in a few.